Hey guys, Phobia again. Today I am going to give you guys some tips, tricks, and advice and the builds that I run when I'm getting trained by Melee, whether that be solo shuffle or 3v3. Just to give you guys a little example of what you're looking at here, I am 2801 in solo queue and 2410 in threes. So got a bunch of experience this season. I feel like I know what's going on. Also, make sure you guys come out to the stream, twitch.tv/phobia gaming. Even if you guys just want to lurk, we're trying to go for that partner. We're gonna be doing the Glad wins on stream almost every night, so make sure you guys come in and watch the Glad wins. And we'll be pushing 2900 CR in solo queue, so come out and watch that. Trying to do what I can, but this whole build and the builds I'm going to be giving you guys, it's what's obviously working for me. You guys can run what you want. I'm sure you can think there's other builds, other shadow priests run other things. These are the builds that work for me and for my success in this season. Okay, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into some of the compositions and what I would run into them. Okay, so the hardest thing for me to fight personally is DHDK healer. Why is that? Well, DHDK healer has a million stops for shadow priest, and your goes are not as strong. So that being said, you don't want to run a build that requires you to cast too much because they have pet kick, pet stun, silence and stun from the DK, their own kick, grip, blinding sleet. That's just from the DK. Then you still have in-cap kick, stun, fear from the demon hunter, and then based on their healer, it could be a Resto Shaman with grounding and a Resto Shaman with wind shear, or it could be an Evoker with Quell. It could be a Resto Druid, which is high HPS and NS's, or they can be running kick also. So essentially, you're not going to cast, right? That's why that comp's really hard for me, and I'm going to give you guys what we have done for success versus that comp. I'm going to go ahead and redo the talents on both sides so I can go over what I'm running. I'll go through the Shadow Priest side and the Holy Priest side as quick as I can, and then go over what I changed basically from other guides. A lot of the time in DHDK healer, we actually end up going to healer, and then swapping DH in between, then going back to healer because we're not going to last the longevity race there. You guys do know I play WPS, Warrior Priest Shaman. My Warrior plays Arms before you guys ask. So a lot of time we'll just swap to the healer, do our go, and then hit the DH and cleave, and then go back to the healer and finish them. Well, I can't cast, so what am I going to run into that? I'm going to show you. Okay, basic build you guys already know. Except your first thing you're going to want to grab here is Purified Disease to get all the DK diseases off you as much as you can, just to slow down their damage or ramp up in their procs. And then we're going to go ahead and, obviously, I still go Mind Control, Void Tendrils to root them. I do go Angelic Feather. We're going to go with the basic stuff you guys already know. Sometimes I want to go Shackle and Dead, but a lot of the time I just let it go. It could be good to DHDK, it really could be, but a lot of the time I just don't have the point to spend into it, so I don't use it. We're going to go, you guys already know what we generally run here. Double PI for my my Warrior. We're going to go Vampiric Embrace, Sanaline, Throws of Pain. You want to get the sustainability. You guys already know this is all the basic stuff. And then this is where we kind of veer off. Right? We're going to get Body and Soul, Unwavering Will, Angel's Mercy. Why is that? Well, again, I'm playing the longevity. And I just need to live while my teammate kills, and I'm just there for the CC bot. So Angel's Mercy reduces Desperate Prayer cooldown based on the damage you take. Then you're going to buff that by going down here and getting Lights Inspiration, which increases how much you get healed by your Desperate Prayer. So you get a lower Desperate Prayer with a bigger heal. Right? Next thing you're going to get is Angelic Bulwark. Bulwark, again, gives you the shield when you drop below 30% on a minute and a half cooldown. It's just an extra way to survive passively to keep you going throughout the fight. All right? You're going to get just the regular Mind Games, not the big one, because all you want to do is throw it out there for a Dispel or a Reversal just to be disruptive on the healer, so they have to use something when you go them. And it can waste a global. It can cause them to fear themselves, and you do more damage. It's just, you want it out there. All right? Translucent Image for the damage reduction. You can go, and then I like to go Crystalline Refraction right here to give myself a heal on my shields. So again, just trying to sustain. You're not gonna kite DHDK. You're not. So as much as I want to go improve Fade for the reduced damage, I actually just go straight into Void Shift, and this is my build that I run against DHDK, because even with the improved Fade, you can Fade, sprint away, you're going to be instantly slowed again, they're going to be back on you, you're not going to kite them. So You could use it for the damage reduction, but again, for me, I don't see the point. I just want to live and I want to send it. All right, so this is what I run into DHDK because it's just about staying alive and getting a mind games when you can, but it's not based off of big mind games. All right, so then Devouring Plague and Dispersion, improved Dispersion, which intangibility gives you more healing. Shadowy Apparitions, you guys already know this is, if you've watched my other guides, this is the basic build that I always run, so I'm just gonna run through it real quick. Go ahead and get Infernal Darkness. Infernal Darkness, when you fight VT or Damnation, it gives you an instant Infernal Darkness, which gives you a free Vampiric Touch. Well, when you Vampiric Touch a target, it applies Misery, so you get a free Vampiric Touch and Shadow or Pain on the target. So you want to go Infernal Darkness to be able to spread your damage around right here. All right, Shadow Crash. You guys already know, when a Shadow Crash hits a target, all targets in the area, up to 8, get hit with the VT, which also applies Shadow or Pain, so you just get all your dots out pretty much for free other than Devouring Plague. Dark Ascension, Ancient Madness, Auspicious Spirits, Psychic Link, Encroaching Shadows. Okay, why did I run that? Very easy. I am doing an all-in go versus on our goes and living in between. So I want to get the Ancient Madness crit to possibly get a crit go, but not only that, when you're spamming your instants, you get to spread out your Shadow Apparitions, gives you more Insanity, which means you get more Devouring Plagues, which means what? You get to just get instant procs all the time, keep your pressure up, make your procs do more damage, and you just get to do everything without casting. And this is why I run this side of the build. Psychic Link, when you're doing your all-in go, you do a lot of damage. So you get to spread all of your damage to everybody, right? You get to hit everybody at once with your Psychic Link, all your procs, with your Mind Flay, which you're not going to really use, but your Mind Spikes and your Mind Blast are going to hit everybody. They're going to crit. You're going to do a lot of damage. And that makes the healer have to focus on spread healing, not just healing themselves, because you can do a lot of cleave, especially playing with a warrior. All right? Encroaching Shadows increases your Devouring Plague damage on hit, which is insane, especially if you guys have the 2 set now. I wish I had it. I don't. But you get to just do a crap ton of Devouring Plague damage to everybody. On hits, I've had crit 30, 40k. So, a lot of damage. Gotta run it. Especially when you're running into double melee. I like to go Mind Devourer and Insidious Eyrie and Damnation and Death Speaker. Okay? And let's go ahead and grab Mindbender. Now, this is where you can swap between specific talents, okay? So, for me, I like to run just the regular Mindbender into double melee because it's Inescapable Torment. You're not going to cast a lot, especially into DHDK. You're just not going to cast a lot, so you're not going to be able to get all the Mind Blast off and all the deaths off and all that, right? So you're not going to get as much damage out of your Inescapable Torment, but you're still going to want to go Mindbender, so you have it up every 1 minute. It gives you a bunch of Insanity. It does a lot of damage on its own, so you want to run that just for the every 1 minute go, right? But instead of running Inescapable Torment versus DHDK, I run Mind Devourer, so I can get a bunch of Insanity from Auspicious Spirits and all my procs, and then hope that I can Mind Blast targets and have a bunch of applied DPs through Encroaching Shadows and stack that damage. And again, just a bunch of on hits. If I get a couple on a go, there have been times I got 3 in a row, legit, back to back to back. I've Devouring Plague, Mind Blast, Devouring Plague, like just does a crap ton of damage. I spent like 100k plus on a go, just Devouring Plague. So I'm running this into that. And then obviously Insidious Eyrie, you guys already know, when you have all your dots on a target, your Mind Blast hits them and does a bunch of damage. And if it crits, a bunch of damage, which also buffs Psychic Link. I like running Psychic Link. I know some shadowpriest don't. I really love it. If you don't like Psychic Link, you can get those 2 points out of there and put them into Malediction would be your best bet, in my opinion, to keep the spread pressure. Now, running this build requires you to run a very specific honor talent build right here. Yes, you could run Siphoning. You would think, oh, let's run Siphoning into this comp so the healer can't heal. Yes, realistically, DHDK is just going to kill it. So why do I run this? It's an all-in build, right? Everything you guys see here, it's an all-in. I send all my damage instantaneously while we do the go, and everything I do is non-casted. So there's no way to stop me, right? I throw out my Mindbender, I give him PI, I go into Dark Ascension, everybody gets Void Volleyed, everyone gets hit. Well, if you guys don't know, you can't use any cooldown inside of Void Volley. You have to Trinket. So let's say you're doing an all-in, and the healer, he's about to die, and he trinkets, and then gets hit by a Void Volley. Well, now you get to save your silence, right? Because now he's gonna get hit by the void volley, and when the void volley breaks, then you silence, and you can get a kill right there because it won't be able to react in time. So things like that are huge, but also it's big because his teammates can't peel if they get hit by void volley, even though it was nerfed. The disruption of it is still there, and it can let you get all your damage out or get the mind games that you need to get out. So this is kind of what it looks like when you're doing something like that. Let me just refresh my build because this, I'll show you guys that build with the inescapable torment and what you'd run that in a second. But this is essentially what it looks like when we're playing, right? I'm like, hey, you ready? 3, 2, 1. They're like, yeah, 3, 2, 1. So I'll throw out my dots right before we go. Then we'll say, let's go, 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 and then I'll go on top of the healer. Shadow Crash, throw out my damage, right? He's out of CC, I'll silence, mind games at the end, and then kill him. And I don't like the mind games in the beginning. Why is that? Because they're still going to be high HP and it's not a threat, right? A lot of time I like to mind games at the end of my CC chain because now they're stuck in a, oh crap, I have to use a cooldown. I have to dispel, or I have to trinket, or whatever, because they're going to die, right? And your silence is normally the last thing you use. So mind game's low, pair it with a silence, guaranteed trinket, guaranteed dispel. Now you can keep going on your push, and then they're just sitting there like, oh crap, I'm dying. So that's what we do in DHDK, and of course he's running spear, so everybody's spear on top of each other, and you get to cleave everybody at one time. That's what I run to that. One other thing I would run into, let's say any other melee cleave, you can run, instead of Mind Devour, you can run Inescapable Torment. Inescapable Torment, sorry. And a big one that I run this into specifically as well is not just melee cleaves, casters. I run this into casters, so casters can't kite away from my mind bender, and I can keep pressure while, like, say, mages are blinking, or so on and so forth. Also, if you aren't getting enough damage on your go, and that's why you're not winning a match, go Inescapable Torment instead of Mind Devour or Malediction. Because if you need that single target burst to finish, Inescapable Torment is your highest single target burst that there is, right? But it does break CC. So let's say there's a poly or whatever next to you, it hits everybody in the area when it teleports. So you got to be cautious of that. But if you're not worried about that, let's say you're fighting like Ret X, Ret War, Ret Over, and Ret War or Ret whatever, you're going to want to run Inescapable Torment because they're going to dispel your Devouring Plagues anyways, and you can just send damage and cleave everybody, and it forces the Ret Pally to be able to have to off-heal, but also keep himself up and waste his Holy Power, and it's an easier spread. So this is what I would run into like a Ret X comp, and into casters. Now, a lot of time, you can run Mind Devour in most of your games if you don't need the single target burst, if you're just trying to do consistent pressure and then do a big burst, but not like all-in, one-shotty kind of burst. Then you can just run Mind Devour, keep the constant damage up, keep the pressure up, and then let your warrior do his burst with your burst, and that should be enough. I would say only go Inescapable Torment if you don't have enough burst. Now on the left side here, this is what I would run into any other melee comp that doesn't require specific things, right? So if you're not fighting anything with the disease, get rid of Purify Disease. If you don't need MD, get rid of MD. But generally, this is what I run into almost every melee comp that doesn't require me to... That allows me to cast. Which, again, only DK I really don't have to cast in. Now, Turbo. Sometimes in Turbo, I'll run the exact build you guys just saw me run. Because sometimes we just have to wait until dampening. So if you're running into Turbo and you're not killing and you're just dying by yourself, then run the other build with the Angel's Mercy build. If not, I'd recommend you guys running this build right here and just swapping out what you need, right? If you don't need MD or Purify Disease, a lot of time what I'll do is I'll just get Void Shield, Translucent Image, right? Run the big one-shot, and I'll run something like this right here, right? Because you can throw a shield up and then do damage while you're putting your shield up, and you can keep your shield up for a little bit longer. Like, you can actually keep your shields up based on the damage you do, and you actually get to absorb just passive damage and passive healing. It makes you tankier when you have a burst going, or you have a way to just stay alive with like catharsises and stuff. So I'd recommend running this into comps that you can actually get some casting in. Now there are other builds you can run based on if they go somebody else on your team, but these two builds are what I run when people are going me. When melee are going me, these are the two builds that I run. So you have this one on the left, and then the setup on the right. And again, based on what you're queuing into, you can switch to Angel's Mercy, get the Purify Disease, get MD for rep pallies and such, right? But that's it, guys. There's nothing really much other than these two builds that I run when it comes to my builds. Now, how do I stay alive? Okay, I get this a lot. How do I stay alive versus melee? How do I kite versus melee? Well, a big thing is I don't just waste my fade, right? I only waste my fade or use my fade when I actually have to kite. And I pair that generally with my void tendrils. So let's say a melee is hitting me, right? I'm getting hit. I'm like, okay, crap. I'll void tendril, I'll fade, and then I'll sprint away with my angelic feather or body and soul. And then that way I'm able to run. And they're rooted, and they're going to have to focus on the root and not me, because you can kill the root. It's not dispellable. So you have to kill the root. While they're killing the root, I'm running. And then I'm lining until there goes over, right? Or I'm just getting distance from them, and then I'm recasting my dots. So when they get back to me, I don't have to cast. If it gets dispelled, then I'll just shadow crash. And that way I keep my dots up consistently. And that's how I always have dots up all the time. Pairing my freedom, pairing my root to get away, to create distance, instead of just wasting my fade or wasting my root. So things like that are things that how people I live a lot. And then when they are doing their go, if I have my Dark Ascension up and I'm counter going, I can essentially be like, okay, crap, they're about to do a go, and then I'll just counter go their go. And like, let's go, counter go, and we'll void volley all over them and stop their go, and I'll kite. And then they have to use mobility, and then I'll freedom sprint. And then they'll get back to me again, and then I'll root. And I'll just keep saving something for when they use their mobility, guys. Don't just use it all. Don't just waste your stuff. Let them use their mobility, then you use something when it comes to situations like that where you can get that distance first. And that's a big one, especially if you're playing with a Warlock. That's a big one. But I play WPS all season. That's what I've been running. So if you're playing Shadow Play, there are other situations you can do. Another thing you can do is if you're not the target, but there are dots out, just an honorary mention, you can drop Catharsis and go Driven to Madness and run this build here if you need to peel. For instance, if they're going your healer. Like a melee cleave is going your healer and not you, you can run something like Driven to Madness, Void Origins, Void Volley. If it's a melee cleave that you can actually cast, you can go Driven to Madness, Siphon, Void Volley, and get a bunch of Dark Ascensions up and Void Volleys to peel. If you can actually cast, then you have the Siphon for the MS. So, and it does stack with Warrior MS and Rogue MS, so it's big. Again, these honor talents really vary based on what you're queuing into. So that's just an honorary mention. That's if they go someone else. Just wanted to throw that in there as just like here's a nugget for you guys. But that's about it. There's not really much more I do when it comes to being trained. When people say, how do I live? I juke a lot too. I do juke cast a lot. I try to figure out the kick patterns of them. I would recommend you guys doing that. If somebody's an instant kicker, like you cast and they instant kick you, well, you know what to do, right? Juke kick instantly. If somebody's a 50%er, you learn to do it before 50%. Some players are really good, no wait to the end, and then you're like, oh, they're not kicking, I'm going through. But once you learn the kick patterns of people you're playing against in that night, the next time you queue against them, you're going to know this guy kicks at the end, boom, and then you juke kick and get your stuff out, right? Don't just try to always consistently juke, because then you're not going to never know the kick pattern. You got to eventually let them kick you to find out when they kick. I do recommend that as you guys shadow priests out there. And then once you learn that kick pattern, you get your dots out, you understand that, you're good to go. And that's it, guys. All right. I don't have much more. I just want to give you guys a quick overview of what I use, what I do, and the build that I run against melee. It's, again, you guys have a bunch of guides for my other builds, but this is what I run specifically into melee cleaves. All right. I'll see you guys next time.